Very good, Beatrix. Very good indeed, may I say? Well, plenty of people can draw. You and my son have observation. Isn't that so, Potter?
You flatter her, John.
Always flatter a pretty face, eh?
You off now?
Yes! Work calls.
I shall always have a most affectionate remembrance of Sir John Millais, even though unmercifully afraid of him as a child. I'm perfectly certain that when I was a child, he used to tease me in order to see me blush. He was one of the handsomest men I ever met. When working on a landscape, Sir John often got a local carpenter to build him a small wooden hut for protection against the elements. He always gave me the kindest encouragement with my drawings. If a great painter's criticism is of any interest, this is it. Once, when I was a child, he turned me around under a window. His judgment, delivered with due consideration, was that I was like his daughter Carrie, at that time a fine, handsome girl, but that my face was spoiled by the length of my nose and upper lip.
Millais went to Scotland whenever he could for holidays, and quite often he was with his friend John Ruskin. In 1855, Millais married Ruskin's ex-wife, Effie. Millais was widely known now for pictures such as Bubbles, but he was also painting portraits, and it was here that Rupert Potter was able to help him by photographing some of his sitters, such as Gladstone. They enjoyed fishing together in Scotland, and it was here also that Millais found inspiration for his landscapes. It would have been a mixture of his landscapes and his more sentimental pictures that Beatrix would see in this exhibition she visited at the Grosvenor Gallery in London with her parents in 1886.
A civil man in a white apron let us in. He appeared to be attending the gas or heating, and emerged at intervals like a jack-in-a-box from unsuspected trapdoors. Otherwise, we were quite alone. I do not understand the prominence assigned to this picture, the Black Brunswicker. I think it is one of the least satisfactory. In my view, Ophelia is the most exquisite work in the collection, and probably one of the most marvellous pictures in the world. I admit that the rose bush is too green. The separate leaves might appear as green in certain special circumstances. It's a question of focus. I should not say composition was ever Millais' strong point. He will doubtless paint some noble pictures yet, but on the whole his work seems to have passed its prime.
It was Millais' photographic treatment of nature that particularly attracted Beatrix. As a child, she had based her own art on the close observation of nature.
Come on! Shall we cut him up? I'd love to see inside his tummy.
Bertie?
Drawing frogs from nature was one thing, but Beatrix also found frogs in the work of the artist Randolph Caldecott. His book, A Frog Who Would a Wooing Go, had been published in 1883, and it was already a bestseller. Rupert Potter, Beatrix's father, had a fine collection of original Caldecots, and there's little doubt that Caldecott influenced Beatrix when she came, some years later, to write and draw The Tale of Mr. Jeremy Fisher.
Once upon a time, there was a frog called Mr. Jeremy Fisher. "I know a good place for Minnow," said Mr. Jeremy Fisher. Then he settled himself cross-legged and arranged his fishing tackle. The rain trickled down his back, and for nearly an hour he stared at the float. There was a bite almost directly. The float gave a tremendous bobbit. A minnow, I have him by the nose," cried Mr. Jeremy Fisher, jerking up his rod. But what a horrible surprise. Instead of a smooth, fat minnow, Mr. Jeremy landed little Jack Sharp, the stickleback, covered with spines. The stickleback flounders about the boat, pricking and snapping until he was quite out of breath. Then he jumped back into the water. And a shoal of other little fishes put their heads out and laughed at Mr. Jeremy Fisher.
It was nearly 30 years before Jeremy Fisher would appear in print. Beatrix was storing up other Scottish impressions that she would be able to use later, and one in particular was the washerwoman from Dalguise, Kitty MacDonald.
Kitty is long since retired. She is now 83, but waken and delightfully merry.
No!
Mother, it's only a toe.
Ugh, I don't call that at all friendly. I always knew she was a witch. Beatrix, really? Well, bless my soul. Oh, Mum and Miss Beatrix. Oh, well, I've been yearning to see you again. Come away in, the pair of you. A dish of tea, that's what you'll be needing. Come along in. You're looking awful pale, Miss Beatrix. You're not ailing, are you?
Me? No, I'm as fit as Neil Gow's fiddle. Is that not so, Mamma?
You may be well enough, Beatrix, but I, alas, am not in the best of health.
In that case, you rest there, Mamma, with your tea, and I'll take Kitty's photograph outside. Come, Kitty, I'll not be put off this time. Kitty's memory goes back 70 years. I really believe she is able to enumerate the articles of her first wash in 1871, the year we first came to Dalguise.
The Tale of Mrs. Tiggywinkle was not published until 1905, but now, in 1891, Beatrix was working on some drawings to sell. She wanted to become financially independent. She was an only daughter, she was 26, and she was devoting her entire life to her parents. This set of drawings, called Rabbit's Christmas Party, show her brilliant technique. She gave this set of drawings to her aunt, Lucy Roscoe, but others she intended to sell, many of them to the publisher Ernest Nister. Three Little Mice Sat Down to Spin was planned as an early illustrated booklet.
3 little mice sat down to spin. Pussy passed by and she peeped in. "What are you at, my fine little men? Shall I come in and cut off your threads?" "Oh no, Miss Pussy, you bite off our heads." But Kitty MacDonald was not the only Dalguise character I saw that year. At the turning, I overtook that mysterious person, Mr. Charles Mackintosh, obstinately absorbed in the Scotsman. It was perhaps time to arrange a meeting. Accordingly, by appointment, he came with his soft hat, walking stick, and very dirty boots.